Hello, welcome back to Hunter Tune. Today I'm going to be continuing on the eBay Amazon Turbo Civic, doing the fuel system and finishing the exhaust. So I already just actually finished up doing the full exhaust kit on this thing. I bought a kit from Speed Factory that is like a, weld on 3-inch straight pipe kit. I found it on eBay. All right guys, so I got the front bumper on. I don't know if I ever showed you guys getting the bumper on, but I did have to take the fog lights out to clear the piping and stuff. And I got the car up on the lift now to show you the full exhaust that I got from Speed Factory. It's a kind of a weld on or clamp on full mandrel bent steel 3-inch exhaust. So you guys saw that I made the down pipe in one of the last videos, and I bought a flex pipe on Amazon that I welded to it, and then I bought these little 3-inch band clamps to go from where the flex pipe is onto where the Speed Factory stuff starts. I put an O2 bung for my wideband right here, and yeah, this kit actually fits really nice. It sucks because I had to use my transmission jack and stuff to hold the exhaust up to kind of mock everything in place. And then I put one hanger here in the center where the factory one is. And then I used a band clamp here again to go from the mid pipe to the S pipe or whatever this is, to go through the tunnel here. And then band clamp again to go to the pipe that goes over the lower control arm here in the back. And then Trevor put on this tip from his truck, which is hilarious. It's goes from 3-inch to 6-inch or whatever this is. It's ginormous. It's a little bit overkill, and I don't know, it kind of looks a little stupid because the rear bumper on this car is all cut. You can see that it's cut here. Cool. I'm just saying, the back of the car just looks kind of dumb. I wish it had a full bumper, and then this thing poking out of a full bumper would probably be more funny, but that's what it is right now. You can see I welded the hangers here on the back too. It's kind of hard to gauge where to put the pipe because the bumper's not there on the back. So, but eBay oil pan holding up good. I put a couple miles on this thing without a tune just to kind of make sure none of the oil lines and stuff were leaking and everything looks perfect. As I'm sitting here working on the car, I got the full exhaust installed. It sounds pretty good, but there was an exhaust leak up front, and I wanted to show you guys what the leak was because it was a sneaky leak that I totally spaced on and forgot about. So when the turbo is bolted to the housing here, the oil cartridge, center cartridge, bolts to the turbine housing here with 6 bolts around the perimeter, and then it has the little discs that hold it. So I ran 5 of the 6 bolts because one of the bolts on the bottom here I could not get tightened down with the drain line still attached. So to alleviate this, because I still can't run that bolt. I mean, I probably could if it's just super tight in there, and I don't have $500, super sophisticated wrenches to be able to fit something in there to tighten it down. So I went to the store and I got a set screw. So I got this little M8 by 125 set screw, and I'm going to take this guy and it'll be flush mounted into the housing here. I'm just using this top bolt as an example. This will thread in all the way down, and then it bottoms out, and that way it'll plug the hole so there won't be an exhaust leak there. I did think it was kind of weird because the turbo wasn't spinning at idle, and it's because there was an exhaust leak right in the housing. These bolts that go into the turbine housing go all the way through, so the exhaust that's spinning the turbo can leak out of these bolt holes. So you guys got to make sure that you get all of them installed, or if you can't get one of them, get one of these little set screws and tighten it in with a set screw so you at least plug the hole. Alright guys, so I got that exhaust leak fixed on the turbine housing here. I put a set screw in it, and I actually welded the set screw into the turbine housing, and now it doesn't leak. So exhaust leaks are all fixed. I'm going to get this thing up on the lift and show you guys the full exhaust after I get this fuel system installed. but I'm gonna get the fuel system done while it's on the ground here, and I can get the injectors out. So we're gonna get the fuel rail off of this thing, and there's a couple zip ties holding the wiring here, and it's got some butt connectors, but they're actually on there pretty good, so I'm not too worried about these. They're actually pretty nice butt connectors. So I got some flex fuel decapped injectors we're going to throw in this thing. I'm going to take the fuel rail off, and then I'm going to show you guys the new injector setup that we're going to be throwing in. New injectors. I went to a junkyard and picked up a set for 20 bucks. So $20 injectors, and then we have a fuel pump from AEM that I'm going to be putting in to kind of keep this thing budget-ish, and hopefully we'll still be able to make like 400 horsepower on this stuff. I think these injectors and this pump and stuff are all going to be a perfect limiter for this factory B16 engine on E85. So without further ado, a couple 10 mil bolts on the fuel rail. Let's get all those off and then pop the rail up, pull the injectors out, and then I'll talk to you guys more after that. Alrighty guys, so I just got the fuel injectors out of the fuel rail. Just took out those 10 mils on the fuel rail to lift it up a little bit. I left the feed line and the regulator and stuff all bolted on still because this car's been sitting overnight. There wasn't a bunch of pressure still sitting in it. But if you did just run the car, it's kind of good to crack the 7/8 nut on the feed line just to relieve some of that pressure, so when you pull the injectors out, it's not going to like spray you in the face. But I got that off, and now I'm going to show you guys the injectors I'm going to put in. These are the factory injectors. Obviously they're not going to be quite big enough to make 400 horsepower on E85. So I went to the junkyard today and I picked up some E85 flex fuel injectors out of like a Suburban, and these guys are EV6 and 14 millimeter top O-ring. They're about the same height as the factory injector. They're actually maybe slightly shorter, but they're around the same size. So I used to sell these quite a bit, and actually built my website around selling decapped injectors like this, but since then I ran a lot of the junkyards around me out of injectors. I couldn't really source them easily, and it was a lot more of a headache getting full of gas every day and just like going, you know, trucking through the mud and stuff. It sucked. So I quit selling them, and thank God I found my injector supplier that I have now to sell Hunter tuned injectors. And you guys have absolutely given me so much support, and I want to just thank you guys from the bottom of my heart for all the support that you guys have given me on still budget injector, but a different injector that I don't have to go to the junkyard for and get full of gas all the time and do all this nonsense with. But since you guys have given me so much support with the Hunter tuned injectors, they're actually all out of stock right now. I don't usually go out of stock, but like every couple months there's like sometimes a couple week period where I run out and I didn't re-up fast enough, or whatever the case is. So that's the case right now. I don't actually have any Hunter tuned injectors in stock, so I just went to the junkyard and picked these guys up, and I figured it'd be fitting for this setup because this is like a super eBay Amazon budget setup. So you guys are really trying to penny pinch, go to the junkyard. 03 to 06 like Suburban, Tahoe, stuff like that have these flex fuel injectors decapped. They're like 750 cc, and should be able to make like 400 horsepower on E85. I've cranked base pressure with like a Hellcat pump with these injectors, and I've made close to 500, but they're really pushing it at that. So anyways, but that's the injectors I'm going to be using, and that's why. But I am using some other products from huntertune.com too, like the top hats. So these top hats are going to convert this 14 millimeter O-ring down to an 11 millimeter O-ring, which is what the Honda uses. So it takes the big O-ring to make it a small one, and then I include these little locking clips so the top hat can't fall off, and it also can't be put on crooked. So there's other top hats out there that don't have the lip to lock onto the injector, and I used to mess around with those, but when you would bolt the fuel rail down, the top hat would like kick or like just go offset a little bit, and it would cause a leak. So these locking ones don't tend to have that issue near as much. And then I also picked up these lower hats from huntertune.com. These will go onto the bottom side of the injector to eliminate the grommet. So these are the factory rubber grommets that sit into the intake manifold. Right there, you can see them. They sit right down in there to seal around the injector. And sometimes these Hunter-tuned lower hats are a better option because those rubbers, when you put them in, sometimes the injector can actually push through that rubber grommet. It'll actually, with enough fuel pressure and stuff on the top of the injector, sometimes it can actually shove the injector through that grommet. So that's why I started selling these, because if you use the lower O-ring on the Hunter-tuned injectors or put the lower O-ring back on these flex fuel injectors, now when we put this Hunter-tuned lower hat on, it will actually stop. I'm going to take the O-ring off because it's not lubed. These are a really tight fit. But the injector will sit in here and it'll actually bottom out. It'll actually bottom out onto the injector body so the injector cannot push down into that rubber grommet. So that's the reason I started selling those. They work good for some setups, but some setups you have to space the fuel rail higher in order to get them to work, because obviously these will protrude out of the intake manifold a little bit. In addition to that, to the wiring, these are just the fail-proof connectors that I run. They're a solid pin design. Goes from OBD2 Honda, which is what this EK is. Sorry, my camera sucks at focusing, guys. So this goes from OBD2 Honda on one side to EV6 on the other, which the Hunter-tuned injectors and the flex fuel injectors that I got from the Junkyard are EV6. So this is just going to plug into the stock harness on this side and then the aftermarket injector on this side. That way we don't have to splice nothing or do anything, but some guys that don't have like OBD2 or OBD1 or Denso connectors, that's the only ones I have right now. I also offer pigtails that you can wire into your harness. So whatever it is to get these injectors working, whether it's decaps or whatever, I should be able to get you covered there. And another thing too is, I wanted to tell you guys that I should have more Hunter-tuned injectors in about 7 to 14 days. So a week or two I should have more of them back in stock, but it's kind of nice to be able to take a break and actually start making more videos, because when they're in stock, it's like all I do and I don't really have much time for video, especially with family life and home life and all that kind of stuff. Before I get these injectors installed, I'm going to share a Bible verse with you guys. It's Matthew 11:28 through 30. Come to me, all you that are weary and are carrying heavy burdens, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Sometimes on a spiritual journey, we try to figure out all the answers and honestly can drive ourselves nuts. Kind of feel like I'm going nuts sometimes, thinking about some of these deep things. But Jesus just reminds us to come to him. His burden is light, and he will give you rest. All right, so I got the injectors installed and the wiring, and now I'm moving on to doing the fuel pump. So ripped the back seat out. It wasn't held in with any bolts, so it was perfect. Came right out. Anyways, back seat came out. Couple 5 or 6 bolts to hold the perimeter, needle nose to get the return line, and then just clamp the little plastic fitting for the feed line. And now I got the pump assembly out, and I forgot when I got this car initially a couple years ago, the guys put a brand new fuel pump assembly in it, thinking that you know, it wasn't the battery ground, which was just a grounding issue. They put a pump in it, rewired a bunch of stuff, all this crap they didn't need to do. So, brand new fuel pump assembly we're gonna take out and install AEM, high flow in-tank fuel pump. This guy should plug right in, and let you know when you get all this back together, and then we'll put a chip in this thing and hopefully it starts up. All right, out with the stock, whatever replacement pump that is, in with the AEM pump. And I took the sock off of this pump instead of using the sock that came with the AEM, because this one seemed like it had a little bit more surface area to it. Hopefully it can pick up fuel a little bit easier. So we're gonna get this reinstalled and go from there. All right, so I got the fuel pump in and the injectors. Everything is all good, no leaks, no nothing like that. But man, this AEM 340 pump is super quiet. I can barely hear it. I didn't even think it was working at first. But I started the car and it's running very rich, obviously, because it's still on the factory injector tune. So I'm on here, got the flash and burn software pulled up. I had a car that I tuned a couple years ago with a 4-bar map sensor and a set of these flex fuel injectors on E85, so this tune that I just burned onto this chip might be rich, but we're going to take it and put it into the ECU and then fire it up and see how it is. I still have like a little less than half a tank of gas in this thing, regular gas, so I'm gonna try to, I might do a tune or like a base map on like 6 pounds for pump gas and show you guys what kind of power it makes. And then eventually, after I get this other gas out of here, I'm gonna drain it and put it on E85 and then turn it up to like, you know, 15 pounds or something like that. So get the chip in here. There it goes. Sometimes the initial, I don't know what it is with HTS files, because this is an HTS tune that's on this chip. Whenever I put the chip in and I turn the key forward, the engine light will stay solid for the first time that you know, put power to it. And then when you go back and forth, then the engine light and everything registers. So I don't know what's up with that, it's kind of weird. Let's fire it up and see how it runs on this base map. I did get the 4-bar speed factory sensor installed. I still got to run a vacuum line to the wastegate, so, and then I also have to get a set of spark plugs in this thing. So, but we'll see how it is. Pretty good. Idling a little high, but it is cold. Oh, it's actually a little lean. Might have to add fuel. See how it revs. Coughs a little bit on revving. I went out if it just needs some fuel at idle or something, and then the rest of it's rich. I don't know. But running pretty good. All right, guys. So I got a better base map in this thing. I actually forgot I did a Rev 9 turbo kit on a B16 a while back with these same injectors on pump gas. So I got that map in it, and now it's perfect, 14.7 at idle, and it revs good. Perfect. So now I'm gonna go under the hood and get a set of spark plugs in this thing, and then show you guys the exhaust. All right, so the old spark plugs are out, and I got BKR7s gapped to, got the BKR7Es gapped down to 18 thousandths. We're gonna throw these guys in, and then I got vacuum line ran to the bottom of the wastegate, ran up to the intake manifold. And then I replaced one of the plugs that was here because it was kind of dry rot and it was falling apart, and Boost would have broke that immediately. So just doing some finishing touches. She should be ready for the dyno here very soon. Fucking teabags looking ass.
What did you just say?
Yeah, that's right, I'm looking at you.
Oh, I didn't know you were. Don't keep modifying.
Alright.
Sorry, bro. Want to work this thing for some time then?
Right? Alright guys, that's going to be it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'm going to try to get this thing on the dyno tonight and then get another video out to you guys within the next couple days and see what kind of power this thing's going to make on pump gas. And then after that, we'll try to get it on E85 once the weather gets a little bit warmer and the E85 content at the pump gets a little bit better. I don't actually know if around here the content changes through the winter, at least where I am, but we're going to get E85 in it eventually, but we might move on to some other smaller projects and some other videos in the meantime, but this car is probably not going to be going anywhere, so you guys will just have to stay subscribed, like the video, and comment down below what you think, and have a great night and a better tomorrow, guys. Hopefully, guys, you're excited to see what kind of eBay, Amazon parts can do on the dyno. A $200 exhaust manifold and some other kind of sketchy stuff. So, see you later. God bless.